dinner at the end. Feel free to ask.
During the part, or the first part of your day, I was talking about how that is that for when they're walking the body to the grave, or?
I think that's when it's, I believe how we're doing in America is it's broken down to like different days. So I believe that one is the second day after, you know, like after it's been notified that the person is deceased. Because if you look at the ceremony itself, and you look at like the song and the music that they play, is that there's a question of whether the person is dead or not. And there's a verification process that, you know, yes, the person is dead, and then now we proceed with the funeral ceremony. And so once that is done on the first day, the second day is when that's what they call it, and then that's when if you've been to like the Hmoob Feuneral, is that if you've been there and you happen to come at a time when they're and then that's when they have the like line up, or like mostly it's just the sons that does it, but they line up at the entranceway, right? And that's when they have like they each hold like two incense sticks, and then that's when they balance like this all the way at the bottom.
When as people are entering.
Yeah. So you guys know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
And you guys know the position, right? I don't have to get into the position for you guys.
So why do we have to do that again? No, it's kind of to show your respect. Because if you really love your brother that passed away, if you really love your sister that passed away, you should be one of the first people there. And normally the second day, they're kind of like the people who are there to open it up for people to come. Because outsiders should not be the first ones to go in. It should be you who represents.
And for the go to like the reason why I like that, I think one of my own interpretations, like I'm kind of like younger generation and I'm still learning it too, but I think that my interpretation is that you're kind of thanking them for coming, like so because they come in groups. So you have the group of uncles or brothers, and you have the groups of other relatives, but then you're all grouped together, like a group of aunts and stuff too. So I think there's like 4 to 6 different groups, and yeah, so you do that, and it's kind of a sign of respect. And then when they come, or they bring meals or food for the dead body too. And so that's the really significant part. I think the point that Sylvia's dad pointed out was just that if you're like the brother or you're like the sister, there's all these other minimal groups who are mostly just like relatives and stuff. And then the idea behind that is why let like the friends or relative group come before, you know, like your own sibling.
When a person passes away, does that give it back to, well, more for a girl per se? When we were doing the wedding workshop, it was saying that when she gets married, she goes on to her husband's family. So when she passes away, is her body given back to her family to do the funeral?
They have a saying that so for women, among women, it's kind of that mentality is that once you go off and get married, that's why it's like that's why divorces are really iffy and really hard in the Hmong community is because of that. Because when you go off and get married, for among women, is that you're kind of all these ritual stuff, particularly the funeral, or you know, like when you pass away, it's your husband's side of the family who's supposed to take care of that ceremony. And so,
and you know, I think there's a thing in there where Sylvia said actually mentions that about how like say for example, if you get married to like your husband, right? Then basically, basically you're totally converted to like that now. Right?
Well, I'd like to add to that. I think that's why they say that way of because we're not really like their daughters. Like we're not really our parents' daughters. We're like our husband's parents' daughters, and that's why.
And that goes back to like the whole funeral process too. Like when they say that you go back to find your placenta or your shirt, they bury the sons under the house, like for the pole that holds up the home. And the girls, you just bury it under the gaitana, which is the pole that holds under the bed. Because daughters are going to be leaving while the son is more like a structure. He's going to be there for a long time. And so it's the thing in the funeral. He will sing the song for the girl, like if she's married. He will blow the song so that she knows to go with his family. She will not go back to her.
And one important point that I wanted to bring up to you guys is that in the life of a person, particularly a Hmong person, there are three big events in your life. There's your birth, and then there's your life, which is companionship. I talked a little bit about it last week at the wedding workshop. Is that like the songs that they sing at weddings, it's all about like life itself, and it's all about like companionship, finding your significant other while you're still alive. And so obviously you kind of know that if you kind of die alone, then it's going to be a really lonely life, right? But so the pretty important part is your life. After your birth, like the Feinong Taka, you do like 3 days after you're born, your parents are supposed to clear you, to bring to call your spirit to your body or like your body, to join your spirit with your body. And so that's the significance of that. And then on your wedding day, it's the union of two people to bring the life together for that point too, about particularly about like the funeral and joining of life and spiritually connect the family together with the bride or the wife. And then there's your death. And so there's a saying too is that if you know decide or how to do like a funeral already, then you are matured, or you are a well-rounded Hmong person, because memorizing like a 10-hour song, that's a lot of work, right? Like for many of us, I can't even like memorize information for my exams and stuff, So it's really hard. So like to understand how to how to just celebrate the person's life, how to send the person to the afterlife, and it kind of the idea of reincarnation. And Sylvia's dad pointed out too is that it's really important because it's not the belief that you as a being is just your body and your life right now. It's the idea that you are basically a container for your life energy within you, and then after you die, it's basically just the expiration of your container, and then yep, and then you're just transferring your life energy like back and forth to like rebirth or like into like the afterlife or into heaven, wherever it may be.
So what's like the 20-year expectancy then or something?
No.
Why was the set so high?
There's like a lot of interpretations for that. Like I've asked Ron, and much of the responses that I've gotten basically like that the Hmong believe that that's the extent that a human being can live to. But I'm not sure if like you guys have got the same interpretation.
Yeah, but mostly just that.
Yeah. So they just basically believe that that's like the longest that a person can live.
Or it's just a really high number, because it's kind of like a gentler way of saying that a person passed away. Sometimes we should say so in other words, it's kind of like you're not going to say, oh, my friend died. You're going to say my friend passed away. And so 120 years is kind of like their way of saying passed away.
Yeah, it's kind of the expiration date time span on your container, per se.
Questions?
Does anyone know what a T-side does?
Yes.
We're gonna get started.
Yeah, we're gonna get
Oh, it's just like where, like he sings a song and it's like to the person that's passed away, and then like after he sings it, like, cause that's when you're doing the whole bowing thing. Then after he sings it, he gives it to you guys, so that, oh, well, your grandma, your grandpa, or whatever, like they said this and this and this. And you just kind of like follow by it.
You don't touch the songs.
Yeah, my grandma was doing examples. And the songs that you will hear on this video and playing is only like the beginning parts that they can do, because you cannot actually play funeral music if nobody has passed away. It's a taboo in our culture. The drums, you can listen to the drums, but in the playing, they have specific songs for sending off people. And so my grandpa only did kind of like the basis, like the beginning portion of it, which you will see later in the video, so don't be afraid. Because he's a Zipang, so he knows what you can listen to and what you can't.
back to the T side, don't you have like certain requirements to be one? Like, has to be a good reputation, someone developed something, right?
I don't know about that.
I'm not exactly sure about it, but then in order to be credited as a TSI, you have to know each of the passages, and I believe that's a requirement. And I know that there are organizations throughout the United States who certify TSI too. It's kind of like a high school thing. Like I was really impressed when I found out about it. They have one for make homes too. Like if you know how to do this ritual or the ceremony completely, and you know the songs, then you get your little certificate, right? And I saw my uncle's certificate this weekend when I went to California for a funeral too. So yeah, it's really weird. But then there are standards and things that you're supposed to do and supposed to know. I'm not really sure about like the reputation or the social aspect, but I know that you do have to know, like, you know about.
My friend's brother, he knows the stuff. I guess like since he wasn't married, he can't be one because it was something. So like I was kind of wondering about that. Like my dad is starting to be one, so I was wondering.
You can't be first going into the person who passed away too. You have to be kind of like a outside member. Does that make sense? Yeah. Like a second cousin or third cousin. You can't be a immediate family with the suicide.
I guess like when I was watching this, like the question that came to my mind was that like, are there like different things that the TSI says depending on like depending on who dies? Like would he say the same thing? You know, a kid died, got dies versus like a family.
Well, Sylva's dad talked a little bit about, you know, how like if you guys recall the story that how the old man was and how his sons didn't really care for him when he was still living, and then he told his secrets, his secret trades to like somebody, like a stranger to tell his kids, right? That's basically or during that night. Technically, like through all parts, because you're just asking for the thing, like to do their part, or like to add in that extra component, because with all masters, there's their own little secrets too, and their own special blessings that they don't really want to give out to unless you ask for it, or unless they want to share it. And so there's a slight difference in there.
Yeah, and to answer that too, depending on the message of the person who's passing away, it's the words that he leaves behind for the suicide to his family. So let's say if I pass away and I have certain things I want my family to know, then I would tell him and he would tell them if they kept asking for more. And then you obviously will have a different message. So each suicide at a funeral, it is different. It's not the same thing. They have a process of how they do it, but they all convey a different message depending on the person who passed away and what they wanted to.
Like for example, at the funeral I went to, Tula Haisia, he was actually a relative of mine, and he has an older brother to me. So when one of the passages that when he was blessing us, he made a reference to President Obama, and everybody was cracking up, you know. But it's things like that. There's small tweaks and variations in between it, and then blessings are kind of blessings, and it's life lessons. I do have like some inputs on like the different songs and a little bit of the meanings and a little bit about the blessings too, but I'll kind of cover that a little bit later once we get towards that part.
Okay, so I have a question. You know, during the third day when you do the bowing all night, we did that, and then they set a table out in front of us, and then my uncle, my dad's brother was like, "Oh, everyone stand back! They're gonna send this table flying to the other side of the wall."
Yeah.
What is that supposed to represent? Like, all you do is flip it, but we got scared anyway.
I can't remember the exact name for it, but then the reason why or they kick the table over is because it's kind of like good and evil or good and bad. Before that, like the table was pretty much set up to like talk about like issues of death, or like a sending of the Bible, or just like I said, confirmation that the person is dead already, and so just to do like death rituals for that person, right? And then once it comes close to the time to like the actual blessings, like all the good words and all the words of wisdom, is that the more don't do it, because they're trying to set up like a new clean table with like a clean slate, and for them to give blessings, and so that you don't get like good mixed with the bad, kind of like that.
Yeah, and I think one way of like viewing day one and two, it's kind of like you're trying to persuade the dead or let him know that, or let him or her know that they're dead, you know, because like they may not want to go in, you know, the belief is that, you know, if you don't convince them to go, then they won't go and they'll probably just stay anywhere in this world, so.
Okay, so why do, cause like my dad's uncle passed away, so we're like really close, and like, why do the boys get hats? Like, all the guys in my family, they got a hat, like the ones, cause like the immediate family, like, cause my dad, like all his brothers, all my cousins, like all the men, they got hats. Yeah, and like they did something with the hats on the third day, like through D-side, like he went around and like all the boys who got hats, I don't know, like they kneeled and he did some stuff, and since we're like girls and stuff, we didn't get the hats. But what he did was he had like an extra spare hat where he put on our head, and he said some stuff and he took it off. I didn't really understand that.
I think that's different for every family. Because
Oh.
you remember clans have different ways that they do their funerals too.
Okay.
Like in the story when I was talking about the chicken, some people place their chicken and the egg at the top of the head.
Mhm.
Some bury it like on their side. Some have it at the feet. It's just depending on your clan, like what you do. There's certain little things like the hat rituals that your family does that
Yeah.
maybe not a lot of us do.
Okay. I can't ask my mom either.
Right.
Like,
You know, some like I've seen people wear all white. I've seen people wear like white headbands.
yeah.
It's just so I've seen that too.
For that, I've actually never seen it, so I'm not really sure
Oh.
how to.
Yeah, we did it during the all-nighters. They did that right before the flipping of the table. So, I don't know, I was just really confused all night.
Yeah, that might be something that your family does, or maybe your clan does.
I have a question. So, like, you know how, like, during funeral they have somebody to guard the casket because they don't want anybody to like sit and stuff in. What is that like? I don't know anything about it.
Back in the day, they didn't have what do you call those chemicals to like preservatives for the body, right? Yeah, but they didn't have any methods of preserving the body, right? So basically, right after the person dies, that's when the actual ceremony starts. Like we're here, we actually wait like a few weeks to like a month until like time is good for us to, or until like the mortuary eats up our money, right? And so like back in the day, like right after the person dies, they start the ceremony right away already. They start like the procedures already, like preparing the person for burial because there weren't any preservatives. So the reason for the guarding the body is that without those preservatives of like these days, if you go with, like to open caskets, they look pretty normal. Depending on the makeup artist and depending on how they preserve the body, but they still look like pretty normal, like how they regularly are. But then back in the day, they would start like once you die, you obviously start rotting, right? And so the reason for the guarding is mostly to watch over the body for that, and also there's critters that tends to come and alter it up too.
And in addition to what Steven said, there's also superstitious belief that maybe people from outside, they might not want your family to get like the blessings or like the good fortunes. And so like say for example, someone comes by the body and puts like this is like a piece of metal, and the dead can't be buried with metal, right? And so that's like supposed to I guess prevent you guys from receiving blessings or misfortunes. And so there's a lot of like superstitious beliefs revolving around that question. So it could be anything from critters to
Critters to people trying to.
yeah.
And even today with like preservatives and stuff, they still have metaphorically have a like a fly swatter type of deal. Like it's just like a stick with like a piece of cloth at the end for them to like kind of swat it. And if you go to like funerals and stuff, you do see like some of the women, it's particularly the women who guard the body for obvious reasons, because most of the men have their own roles in in the ceremony itself, right? Like like I said earlier, all that stuff. And so for the fly swatter, they still use it too, because like I said, the body will rot right away. And so if you're not swatting the body, like the rotting corpse, and flies get to it, then it's gonna rot a lot more rapidly than it would. So
Oh, are you done?
yeah, so
Okay.
so that's kind of the metaphor.
Alright, so I have a lot of questions, but I can't answer them because like, why? Yeah, but then so I noticed that at a funeral that I went to, like, you know how when they come in, where the guy with the thing, like the thing, he comes in. So there's this one time funeral where he couldn't go through the door because of something, like something wasn't like right or something, like they didn't have the right door or something, but like he like stayed at that door the whole time, like for like 30 minutes, and they couldn't find out, like they didn't know what was wrong. And like the people that were accompanying him, the ones with, like, they were saying how, like, there's like someone missing or something missing, and he couldn't go past that door.
What day was that?
Second, I'm sorry, yeah, second day.
She went to either to job or Mopala
Oh.
to Dalo or was really close to all the sense because both those group of people that basically no one's signature, not even Joe.
I think one thing too is that usually when they play, you're supposed to play like close to the corpse, and they do have like a few small rituals where they do like go around the building and all that stuff. And then if you guys have seen the one where like they take the crossbow and then they take that big flute type of deal and they blow through it and it makes like a train noise, right? There's those rituals too. So if like some of those people are missing, then that's probably why he was stuck there because nobody was going to come to
It
him.
was when they did the didn't Hosea, you know what I'm talking about? When they were coming through, like I think he was bleeding or something, but they had all the stuff all lined up already and stuff, but it's like he wouldn't go through the door because he said that like there was something wrong or like someone missing or I don't know, they had to go find it somewhere.
Traditionally, before the zoo, like to me, it's dark. The gate, he has to be there and he has to say something or he has to do something.
Yeah, like he said it a couple times.
Yeah,
Like the
and
guy
then-
repeated
yeah,
something,
and
he
then-
did it, and he wouldn't even go through. I don't know, it's just weird. I was like,
It might be family superstitions too, though. Like I said, clans do things differently. Sometimes they have like extra people, or sometimes they have extra rituals that need to be present before they can proceed.
Right, and some fans like they may even have like a week that whenever you go to the funeral home, you have to go into like you have to go with like a couple like for example just so that I guess no one follows you home. So.